The American Dairy Association Northeast is happy to partner with farms throughout our territory to bring you these virtual farm tours. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce Katie Dotterer-Pyle, who is one of the co-owners here at Cow Comfort Inn Dairy. Without further ado, I will let her take it away.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Cow Comfort Inn Dairy. My name is Katie. And if you were surprised to see a female, just know that females actually also own and operate farms. But I do own and operate this farm with my husband, David. He's around here somewhere. So he's actually taking care of the cows so I can do this to bring our farm to you. A lot of people have never been on a dairy farm. Less than 2% of the population are dairy farmers. So there's 98% of you that really have kind of no idea what we do here, and people are really curious these days about where their food comes from. So I'm going to do my best to share our farm with you and all the information that goes along with it. So please do not hold back any questions. Just a real quick history of us. My husband and I were both third-generation dairy farmers. My husband grew up on a dairy farm in Vermont, and I grew up on a farm in central Pennsylvania. And so we love our family, but family can kind of be hard to work with. So still love family, but we decided to start our own dairy farm in 2009. So we have actually owned and operated our own dairy farm now for almost a decade. And we started with 90 cows, and now we have a total of 800. So you can do anything you put your mind to. I started as a business owner at the age of 23. So we have here, out of the 800 cows, we have 400 here at this farm that we're going to be going through today. And out of those 400, we're milking about 360 2 times a day, every single day, 365 days a year. And I like to tell people, because people don't realize how much work really goes into farming, I haven't had a Christmas off since I was 8 years old. When you grow up on a dairy farm, or any farm for that matter, and you're old enough to take care of those cows, those are your first priority. We take care of our cows before we take care of ourselves. So haven't really opened presents before noon in a long time, but that's okay because these girls are worth it. So here at Cow Comfort Inn, our motto is where cows enjoy their stay, because we strive to do what we can to the best of our ability to give these girls an awesome home and an awesome life. So we're going to start here in our calf barn. And so you'll see here, this is one of our group pens. This is actually a newer technology, and a lot of calves you're going to see are napping. They're taking their afternoon nap, and you're going to see a mix of colors in here. So the brown ones, those are called jerseys. And if you see this black and white one up here, that's actually a Holstein, which is what you know of a lot of people when they think of a cow. So Holsteins are your most popular because they produce the most amount of milk. Jerseys are your second popular because, one, they're smaller. I call them Katie-sized cows because I can handle them a little easier. But also they produce the most amount of butter fat, which is the good stuff that goes into high-fat products like cheese, ice cream, and butter. So what I'd like to show you here is our automatic calf feeder. So we're going to pan inside this. You can see a calf inside, and she's currently drinking. And what you'll see inside there is a nipple sticking out. And we'll show you the other side of this as we go around the barn. But this is an automatic calf feeder. Another word for it is a robotic calf feeder. So this calf feeder is feeding these calves 24/7. Whenever these calves are hungry, they can go get fed when they want. However, we do have some parameters on them because we obviously don't want the calf to starve, but we also don't want them to overeat, because if a calf overeats, she can bloat and then she dies. So we don't want any of that. Everything is computerized. And I also want you to look at the computer chips in their ears. Now, they have ear tags, and they also have these little white things in their ear. You'll see those. There's actually a computer chip in here. So every single one of the cows here at Cow Comfort Inn has a computer chip. And this, when they come into this machine, that machine reads that, so we know who is eating how much. So everything is recorded. Data is really important for us and helps us diagnose any sick calves really early. So we're going to walk around this way, and you can see they have a lot of fun in this group pen. We do hang balls from the rafters just so they can have a lot of fun. Calves, they have a life. They really don't
Katie,
have to do anything all day.
we did have one question come in. Will Epic be making a cameo today?
Oh, Epic will not be making a cameo. I'm so sorry. She's a pretty epic cow, and she has an epic tongue. I wish we had time to show you that today. But if you follow us on Facebook or Instagram, which is Cow Comfort Inn Dairy, we can make that happen. So great question. So first, when the calves are first born, they actually are put into what we call these individual pens. Some farms have calf hutches, but calves are born without an immune system. So humans, we are born with an immune system. Calves are not. It's super important to get them up and going their first 24 to 48 hours of life to build that immune system for them. So as we go down here, these calves are only in here for about 12 days, maybe 14, before they are moved to the group pen. So the group pen that you just saw earlier helps calves learn to socialize earlier. So just in like any other business or school, there's bullies within calves and cows. So this helps them learn to socialize at a younger age, but we do need to keep them in their individual stalls for at least 2 weeks to make sure that immune system is a strong one. So now we're going to show you the inside. Remember when you saw the nipple, the calf going in there to drink? This is our little calf room. And in here, this is what that nipple was attached to, this tube right here. You can see that going. It's actually very nice and warm. So this is, when we come up here, this is what we call the hopper. And actually need to fill it here in a bit. This is milk replacer, much like formula that you give to infants, and especially formulated for our jerseys. So this, we have to make sure it has the correct amount of fat and the correct amount of protein to feed those calves all day, every day. There's a hot water heater in here, so we make sure that going out to the calf is warm. I'm gonna turn it on here so you can see the action. And you can see the milk replacer coming out. Everything is pre-measured. This is warm water mixing. You can see the mixture in there doing its job. And you can see on the other end, somebody's super excited. I just gave them an extra feeding. So on the other side is that calf with that nipple that we showed you there in the beginning. Now we do have 2 of them. We do have 2 group pens that are currently, this pen is actually being weaned. So calves, here at Cal Comfort Inn, our calves are on milk for about 8 weeks. And some people think that calves should be on milk forever or longer than that. Not true. So calves, if you don't know, calves and cows have 4 compartments or stomach compartments. Some people call them 4 separate stomachs, so that's fine too. But it's really important for all 4 of those stomachs to develop correctly. That is why they are on milk replacer or milk for 8 weeks, and then we wean them off to make sure that they were introducing hay and we're introducing all these other nutrients so that they grow to be a healthy, productive cow. So we're going to exit this now. And so you'll see the other group pen. These girls are a little older. And so they will be being weaned here. Well, they're actually being weaned right now. And you can see the hay over there on the side. They don't get that, and so they're being weaned because that's helping their stomachs develop.
Awesome. We did have someone chime in and say, do you use ear chips instead of necklaces or bracelets? And actually, Katie's going to talk a little bit later about the transponder, aka Fitbit bracelets they use for cows. So I did just want to point that out. We'll get to that question a little later.
Yep, excellent. So we do computer chips in two reasons, and we'll get to that. Last thing I'm going to show you in the calf barn is this last pen. This is a weaned pen. These girls are off of milk, so they are on hay and grain and just so you know that all the nutrients that cows eat, they're specially formulated by a nutritionist, much like a registered dietitian that humans work with. So these girls are pretty happy. They're just chilling out here this afternoon. We're going to make a little detour over to what we call our hospital pen. And I'm not going to spend too much time here, but I just wanted to dispel a huge misconception that's out there. No matter what the label says on any dairy product, all milk is antibiotic free. All milk. I don't care if it has a label that says antibiotic free or not. It's all, because it's illegal to ship any type of milk with antibiotics in it. So if we come up here quick, this is our hospital pen. Every farm has one of these. So you'll see where this gate separates the 2 pens. Now, if you can zoom in on that cow with her that orange leg band, do you see that orange leg band? That means that that cow is currently on antibiotics. She currently has something, some type of infection that she needs an antibiotic to kill. Now, these girls are separated from the rest of the herd, which means they do not get milked with the rest of the herd. They get milked last. They still have to be milked. A lot of pressure builds up. It's just like a nursing human. We still have to milk them, but here's the difference. The milk that goes into the regular tank, which you're going to see here in a minute, we can't sell that milk. So that milk goes down the drain. It is illegal. Milk is also tested 17 times from the time it leaves the farm until it gets to the grocery store. Also, milk is never touched by human hands. So there is no chance of any antibiotics getting into any dairy product whatsoever. So I just wanted to dispel that myth right off the bat. There's no antibiotics, no matter the label.
Awesome.
All right. Go
So
ahead, Emma.
Katie's actually headed to the milking parlor, so I think it's a perfect time to have Katie answer this question for us.
Sure.
Someone asked, how old does a cow have to be to start producing milk?
Fantastic question. So here at Cow Comfort Inn, they check in at 2 years old. And some people are like, oh my goodness, that's really young. Well, cows actually mature very rapidly. So just like, we say dog years, same thing with cows, but even more so. So cows have their first calf at 2 years old. Great question.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. And then another question, and I know you broached this briefly in the beginning, but do all breeds of cows produce the same amount of milk and the same type of milk?
No, they do not produce the same amount of milk. So like I said, Holsteins are your highest producers. Holsteins can produce up to about 100, 120 pounds a day. Jerseys, we're averaging about 65 pounds a day. So that's a big, big drop. However, like I said, Jerseys produce the most amount of butter fat, which farmers do get paid a little bit more for because, like I said, that is the milk that's going into, your higher fat products. And if you've ever seen Land O'Lakes butter, that's where our milk goes. So we actually ship our milk to Land O'Lakes. So any type of Land O'Lakes product you see, that's where our milk is going. And our milk also goes into Dairy Made, the plant in Frederick. So we're actually helping supply Frederick County Public Schools with milk. Did I miss a
Awesome.
question, Emma?
Nope, you answered it, and you kind of broached it. So milk may be the same, but each cow has different components to it, whether that be milk fat or protein levels in their milk.
And there are other breeds. I'm just hitting on the top two popular breeds in the dairy industry. So we are in the milk house right now. And so if you pan around, this tank here holds a lot of milk. So on average, we are shipping about 43,000 pounds of milk every other day. Here's a big misconception. People think that farmers get paid by the gallon because that's how you see it in the store. Not so. We actually get paid for every 100 pounds of milk. So, guys, you can do the math because I don't like math. Math and I've never gotten along. We get paid for every 100 pounds of milk. We're shipping about 43,000 pounds of milk every other day. And 1 gallon of milk is 8.6 pounds of milk. So you can do the math there. So this, like I said, gets shipped out every other day. Milk truck was here yesterday. So what they do is they hook up this big hose down to there. The milk comes out. Again, milk is never touched by human hands. Goes on the truck. It's tested before it goes in the truck. And over here, I'm going to show you what a milk ticket looks like. Of course, like I said, we ship our milk to Land O'Lakes. So yesterday he was here on November 13th, and the temperature of the milk was 36 degrees. We were a little down, so we shipped 41,868 pounds of milk, and then our driver always signs it because he's always responsible for loading that milk. That tank is always washed and sanitized every time it is emptied. And I know some of the questions we got already, Emma, was about how we're paid. So it's actually not a very good time in the industry right now. We have record low milk prices 4 years in a row. Two things that decide on milk price. One is exports. As a whole, the U.S., we export about 18% of milk production overseas. Our number one customer, by the way, is Mexico. And the big thing that really dictates price is domestic demand. A lot of people just aren't drinking milk anymore. There's a lot of other alternative choices when you go to the grocery store, but we'd really appreciate it if you still stuck with milk. But it's all products too, butter, cheese, and things like that.
And just so everyone knows, I did the math quick for you, Katie, because I know you don't like math. They shipped over 5,600 gallons on yesterday's load of milk alone. So
Yep,
that puts things into perspective for everyone out there. Their cows are doing a really good job.
Yes, and that's, like I said, that's 360 cows twice a day, every single day. One little quick thing I'm going to show you here is the temperature gauge on here. There is milk in here. This is last night's milking and this morning's milking. And the temperature of the milk right now is 35.8 degrees. When that milk comes out of the cow, it is coming out at their temperature. So a cow's temperature on average is about 101. So we actually cool that milk from 101 down to 35 degrees in about 10 to 15 minutes. Because it's just like science, anything in science, that if you have a moist, warm environment, bacteria grows, and we don't want that. Farmers get paid for high quality milk. So it's just common sense that we're going to ship the highest quality milk that we possibly can. Am I missing anything, Emma?
Nope, I think you got everything answered here in the milk house. So we're excited to see the parlor.
All right, just real quick, this is the milking parlor. We're going to show you a quick video that I did live a little while ago. And so that's going to explain a lot more because we're actually not milking right now. Just wanted to tell you, we milk twice a day, every single day. Our milking times are 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. And it takes about 4.5 hours to milk all 360 cows. So we won't start this parlor up again for about another 3 hours. So
yeah,
enjoy the video.
We really wanted to show you guys the real life milking process, but we figured none of you would be at school at 5 a.m. in the morning. So hopefully you enjoyed this video.
Here at Cow Comfort Inn, we milk 350 cows 2 times a day, and we milk at 5 in the morning and then 5 at night. So we are on the second milking tonight. So let's go see where they're at. First step is to prep them. We need to make sure that these udders are really nice and clean. What Angel has here is what we call the teeth scrubber. That has a sanitizing solution in it that is making sure that these teeth are nice and sterile. Angel, un momento. Ponete, por favor, el video. See up nice and close, and if you put your finger in it, doesn't hurt the cow. It actually feels pretty good. Muy bien, gracias. So this is washing all the cow's teeth. It stimulates them at the same time. Like I said, there's a sanitizing solution that goes through there, and then he takes the towel to make sure he gets any remaining manure or dirt off of it as he can. Now before this step, we're gonna come over here. David is applying a foam that helps loosen the dirt on these teats. And by the way, these are teats, okay? The whole thing that they're attached to is called an udder. We are in a milking parlor that is a double 12, which means we can milk 24 cows at a time. So these girls over here are starting to come in. Over here, these girls are getting prepped. So we're gonna come back here to the very first cow. You can see they're nice and clean. And if for some reason she messes them up again, we re-clean them before attaching the milker. This is the milker right here. These do not hurt the cows. Biggest misconception is that cows don't like to be milked, which is not true. So David is now attaching the milker. And the cow is comfortable, she's fine, she's standing there. Just like breastfeeding, you know, a lot of pressure builds up and they want to be milked. They line up to come in here. So now as you can see that milk? Now, all of this is computerized. Right here, this is the computer for each cow. So I can tell you right now, oh, there she's up 1.5 pounds so far, almost 2 pounds. Okay? And I can tell you which cow this is by this code. This cow is 4161. Super right. Hello, 4161. So this milk goes through here. All right, goes through all these pipes. Now these pipes are sanitized after each milking, all right? Then they go into this thing. This is called a chiller. When milk comes out of the cow, it's about 100 degrees. So this cools it down to about 40. And then we go in here. This is what we call the milk house, all right? This is a milk tank where the milk will be stored. Our milk gets shipped out every other day. Right now, the temperature of the milk, as you can see, is 39 degrees. This will actually cool it down to about 36 degrees. I'm gonna go back in here. So as you can see, this line is being milked right now. These cows are comfortable, they're clean, they're enjoying themselves. This is all they have to do all day. They work twice a day, and then they get to go back to do what they want. Here's the next group coming in. They're very nosy. Now these girls will be cleaned and milked and going back to their pen. Now after this, I don't want to bore you guys, but once these milkers come off these cows, we make sure that they're milked out, and then they get this. This is iodine, okay? Just plain old iodine. And what we do is we put it on each cow's teat, and this protects them from any bacteria or anything that they might come in contact with out in the barn. So that's really important. That's how we keep our cows healthy and make sure that they don't get infected with anything and that they're comfortable. They get the chill out when they go back to the barns. If you have any questions, don't forget to ask a farmer, not Google. Google does not do this. We do.
Awesome. So I hope everyone enjoyed that pre-recorded video. Now we're gonna head over. Katie has made her way into the freestall barn. And with that, I'm gonna pass it off to Katie to talk a little bit about what is a freestall barn and how they house their lovely bovines at the farm.
All right, so before we get to that, just want to emphasize one more time that cows, it only takes 8 to 10 minutes to milk a cow. You might hear some from people that have never set foot on a dairy that, oh, cows are milked all day, every day. Not true, 8 to 10 minutes. So guys, do the math. If a cow is milked 8 minutes and she's milked twice a day, that's 16 minutes. That's all she has to work all day. And then they get to do things like this, like eat my coat and be curious and maybe eat the camera. So yes, as Emma said, we are now in the freestall barn. And the reason why it's called a freestall barn is because the cows are free to do whatever they want, like eat my coat. They're also free to lay where they want, to eat when they want, to socialize when they want, whatever. So we are in the freestyle barn. This girl is very curious, very curious. And again, these are jerseys. The brown cows are jerseys. So I want to point out what they're eating right now. Their diet, it is a well-known fact in the US that cows are actually way better fed than humans. So like I said before, we work with a nutritionist, much like a registered dietitian that humans work with, and their diet is very, very scientific. My husband actually does a lot of this with our nutritionist. It goes over my head, so I just let them do this. So in here, you have a myriad of different ingredients. So a lot of it's corn, you have hay, you have cottonseed, there's citrus pulp sometimes, there's a vitamin and mineral mix to make sure these ladies are getting what they need, just like we need to have the nutrients that we need to have to be healthy. So it's not only for the health of the cow, but it also for the health of their unborn calf. Some of these girls are pregnant, so we need to make sure that they are having healthy pregnancies. Now, a big misconception about corn is, oh, they're corn fed, not grass fed. Corn is actually a grass. So they're not eating just the cob of the corn like you and I eat. They are eating the entire thing. The entire stalk of the corn is chopped up into tiny bits and pieces. And cows love it, absolutely love it. Now, you guys probably noticed that it's a lot of food in front of them. So cows actually eat anywhere from 50 to 90 pounds of food a day. Kind of crazy. And actually, feed is our biggest expense on any farm. It's the biggest expense. I usually have people guess how much we pay a month just to feed these girls. It's about $25,000 just to feed these girls. They eat a lot, a lot. They also poop a lot because all that food has to go somewhere, right? So they also drink 50 gallons of water a day, so a bathtub full, if you can picture that. So we're gonna keep walking through here. Now you'll notice all the girls have ear tags. And this is, I'm going to answer the question we got earlier about the computer chips. So I have here, this is a clean Fitbit. It's honestly exactly like a human Fitbit. So what does a human Fitbit, right? It tracks all of your steps. So we make sure that we're getting enough steps in a day, that we're being healthy, that we're being active. Same thing for a cow. So this goes on a cow's ankle, and it's very, I think, very fashionable. The girls seem to like it. So we might be able to get you some video footage here of it on a cow. You can kind of see there. So what this does is it tracks their steps. She doesn't like the camera, apparently. It tracks their steps, and we know all of this information. So why is knowing how many steps a cow takes important? Cows on average take an average of 55 steps an hour. So if a cow is taking way more than that, say a cow is taking 200 steps an hour, that means she's in heat and we need to go breed her. Now, if she's not taking as many steps, maybe she's taking 10 one hour, maybe she's taking, I don't know, 20 another. That's a big red flag to us as farmers to say, hey, there's something not right with this cow. She's not getting up to eat. She's not getting up to drink. She's not getting up to socialize with the herd mates. So we know all of this. Everything is computerized. And in the milking parlor, you saw the computers that each cow has. It records their milk weight. So as soon as that milk goes through that milker, it is recording, and everything is sent wirelessly to our computer. Now, 5 a.m. every morning, a report prints out for us, and that tells us, hey, this cow might need looked at. She's either oversteps, understeps, or there might be a big deviation in milk. So say that cow, maybe she gave me 35 pounds yesterday, but she only gave 12 today. That's a big red flag that cow's not feeling very good. Chances are she has a bad foot, or one of her 4 stomachs doesn't feel good. And so we got to figure out which 4 of those stomachs doesn't feel very good. Also, we have a very close relationship with our veterinarian. Every farmer does. You cannot operate a farm without having a relationship with a veterinarian. So we work very closely with ours to make sure these girls are in tip-top shape all the time.
Katie, you mentioned that they eat a lot, so that means they produce a lot of manure. What are some of the ways on your farm that you utilize that manure to recycle or reuse?
So on here at Cow Comfort and Dairy with the manure, a big thing that we do with manure is never wasted, ever. It's a fertilizer that we put out in the fields to help crops grow. And then, hold on, I'm going to answer that question in a minute, Emma, because this is really cool. You can see how clean the floors are in this barn. And by the way, this is rubber matting. It's kind of like those anti-fatigue mats that you stand on at like a if you're working in a fast food place or wherever. So the cows are super comfy while they're out here eating. So this is what we call an alley scraper, or I call it a squeegee. This is what it does all day, every day, 24/7. It just goes up and down the barns and makes sure it's scooping out any manure. So it keeps the barn very clean for these cows. Now this girl, they're very used to it. Everybody's like, oh my goodness, what are they gonna do? They know how to step right over it. And you can watch this cow if you want. She's very distracted right now by a bright light and a camera. But to answer your question, Emma, we're going to show you what we also do with the manure. We actually take the manure here at Cow Comfort Inn and we dry it down to a very soft consistency that we're left with the fiber. So if you look in the beds here, the girls are laying on recycled manure. It's not wet, it's odorless, it's very comfy. I've taken a nap on it before. Don't tell Dave because he doesn't know that. But this is actually laying on top of mattresses. All these girls are laying on mattresses. So they're kind of like mattresses like you and I know. Did you know they also make water beds for cows? We would love to have those, but they're really expensive. So maybe one day, But we pride ourselves here to make sure our cows are comfy, they're healthy every day. And you can see, I mean, these girls, they're very comfortable right now. Everybody asks me on an in-person tour, why aren't your cows mooing? Well, you don't want your cows to moo. If a cow's mooing, that means she's upset with something. I don't hear any mooing. Do you, Emma?
I don't hear anything.
They're pretty content and they're just chilling out till they have to go to the milking parlor for the second time today.
Awesome. We had a question come in about what else is in your feed. So I know you talked a little bit about corn and soybeans and some of that stuff. You also mentioned citrus pulp. Can you explain that a little bit as far as what's in the entire ration
Yeah, and
the cows eat?
I wish we had citrus pulp today. It always changes depending on price, what we can afford, what the cows need nutritionally. So citrus pulp is really fun. It actually comes from your southern states, right? Like Florida that have the oranges or grapefruit. So we're actually getting the rinds from produce like oranges and grapefruits and things like that, and we're able to use that. So that stuff doesn't get thrown out, which is really cool because cows can actually digest more stuff than we can. So we're helping actually the world cut down on food waste by being able to utilize those byproducts into cow feed. So citrus pulp is a really good source of sugar for cows, which can give them energy. And it's just a really good nutritional source when you put it all together with a bunch of other ingredients. Some other ingredients we have, the vitamin and mineral mix is key. And that's minerals and vitamins to make sure that these girls are getting what they need. Trying to think what else I mentioned. Soybeans.
Does your ration vary depending on age of cows, stage of lactation, and things like
It
that?
does. So, yep, it all depends. As we were walking down here, the very first pen that you saw was our high producers. They're like the rock stars here. And I just want to point out too on that note, a lot of people when they see a dairy cow and they see the ribs are like, oh my gosh, she's so malnourished. Do you feed her? So you're supposed to see ribs on dairy cows because dairy cows, we compare them to athletes. When they are eating, they're to put that energy into their milk, into milk production. They are not beef cows. If you're driving down the road and you see these big black cows on the side of the road, those are beef cows, completely different than dairy. And beef cows are fat, and you're not supposed to see the ribs on beef cows because they're producing beef. Dairy cows produce milk. So they are not malnourished. Actually, if you have a fat dairy cow, it's not very good. My cow Cutie Patootie actually died because she was too fat. They get a fatty liver, and that's another story. The nutrition that goes into this feed is super important. There's so much science that goes into it. So if you are a student out there that absolutely loves science, agriculture would love to have you. It's a really, really neat thing to get into, and just to know that you're feeding these cows and making sure that they have a healthy life. because of what you're doing for them is pretty cool.
Awesome. And then we had a question come in. How long can cows continue to produce milk if they start at 2 years old?
Great question. So an average lifespan of a cow is about 8 years old. I know that doesn't sound very long, but again, they mature so fast. And I also tell people, imagine, so cows on average weigh anywhere from 1,000 pounds to, I had a cow, Martha, she weighed over 2,000 pounds. We called her one ton Tina. Um, Cows, imagine, lugging around that weight every day on four skinny legs. You're going to wear out soon too. So but that's not to say we've had cows as old as 12, 16 years old. So they can keep producing milk as long as they want to and as long as they can hold out to do so.
Awesome. And then another question came in. How long does it take for the milk to be reproduced if they're milked twice a day? And from that, do you see a big difference in production in the morning versus at night?
Usually we see a bigger production. They give more milk in the morning, and that all depends on weather too. So climate change actually affects farmers just as well. So cows tend to give more milk in the morning. So especially in the summertime. Now, no, you don't see the fans going on right now, but in the summertime, cows hate heat. Their optimal temperature, they get really stressed out anything like above 60, 65 degrees. So again, it all depends on the weather and the environment. That affects a lot of farming. So yeah, like these girls, they're average 65 pounds a day. So they might drop, 35, 40 in the morning and then the rest at night. So it all depends. Again, it's on a bunch of different factors.
Awesome. And then some of our pre-tour questions that came in. Do your cows ever go outside?
Great question. So I would love for every single one of my cows to be outside, but here's the truth, guys. Our cows do get to go outside every year, depending on where they're at in their lactation. So all of our pregnant cows get to go outside. We're just not going to be able to go to the pasture today. One, it's really, really muddy with all this rain that we've gotten. But it's land usage too. You drive by these big, I know when I go into Frederick, all of these housing developments are coming up and all these commercial properties, which is great. But guess what used to be there before? It was farmland. And actually, more importantly, if you ask a cow, and we've kind of done this, cows actually prefer to be inside in a climate controlled environment. So when we were at that hospital pen, every day that gate is wide open. It's the pen actually after the hospital pen. It's wide open every day. And 9 times out of 10, those cows are still inside, especially in the summer. So if it's 80, 85 degrees and we got the fans going, we have sprinklers going. If you think it's funny to watch little kids run through the sprinklers, you should watch cows. It's hilarious. But if we have all that in the barns, why are they going to go outside? So most of the time, people think I joke when I say, have you asked a cow if she wants to go outside? It's true. We have that gate open 24/7. And most of the times they choose to stay inside because it's way more comfortable.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that question. We had another question. You mentioned your milk goes to Dairy Maid, which provides milk for Frederick schools.
Mm-hmm.
What does that journey look like, and how long does it take from milk to go from the cow all the way to the store or school?
Not very long because milk is a highly perishable item, right? So it's going to spoil after, too long. So from the time it leaves here till it gets to Dairy Maid till it gets to the school, you're looking at maybe 48 hours. It's a very, very tight turnaround process, but things are so streamlined in the plants, and all of the testing gets done and all that. And there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of people that make sure that our product gets to you safe and at high quality. And shout out to the Frederick County schools. I did forget to mention in the beginning, I do teach Spanish part-time at Walkersville Middle. So hey, Walkersville Middle, and anybody else in Frederick County that's joining in.
Awesome. So cows eat a lot of food. Where do you store all that food that they eat throughout the year?
It's a great question. So we're not going to go there because it's a little bit down the hill, but we store the food. It's actually a really big, we kind of have a party in September when we put all the corn in. So we have 87 acres here, and then we have to buy more food because 87 acres is not enough acres to feed 400 cows. So I don't know if you can see it, this big green thing. Can you see that big green out there? Maybe that is covering our big pile of corn silage. So what we do is, and this is why harvest is so important. So if you're traveling down the road and you see big trucks, please be kind, because we're just still trying to get crops in. So what we do is, this is harvest season for farmers, anywhere from August through November. And so we store that all year round on the farm so that we have this food to feed them throughout the year until next fall.
Awesome. We pulled up the aerial shot, Katie, so they got to see the big green tarp over your bunk silo there. We pointed that out for all of our tour attendees.
And that's a team effort. That took us about a week, maybe a little shorter, to put all that in. And then we have really great people here in the community, other farmers and whatnot, that come over here and help us cover it. So it's just a really great feeling to know that we've got food secured for these ladies all year.
Awesome. One of the questions that came in is, are all the animals getting the same amount of food? And is there any way that you're able to, for the adult cows, track feed intake?
Yes, so tracking feed intake is huge. That's a really good question. And that's like a whole other segment that we could do. We actually have a computer mounted in a bucket that we're scooping this food up with, that actually is calculating what we call dry matter intake. I don't want to get too heavy on terms here because I don't want to lose you, but yes, short answer, yes. We have to know how much feed these girls are eating, because we don't want what we call refusals. That means they need to clean their dinner plate. If they don't clean their dinner plate, that means, okay, something's off. By the way, cows are super picky eaters, super picky. If they don't like an ingredient, they will actually try. This is what they'll do. If my hand's a nose, they'll try to go through here and they'll just pick out what they want. It's like, I used to pick out lima beans and mixed vegetables. I still hate lima beans, by the way. But they'll do that. So sometimes we add molasses so it sticks together so they can't sort it like that. But yes, that's a great question, because it is really important to know how much these girls are eating, because if they're not producing a lot of milk, but they're eating a lot, that could be an issue too. So there's a lot of nutritional components in that, and it all goes back to the health of the cow. I can't stress that enough. We do this because we love these girls.
Awesome. There was a piece of equipment when you first walked in the barn. What is that used for?
That piece of equipment up there, that is a skid loader. The best thing ever made. The thing is super handy. We have 3 here, and I operate all 3. And they're just, so it's a skid loader. Some people call it a skid steer. It's super handy. What we'll do is, actually, there's an implement on the front of it, and we go down the barn and we push this feed in. Cows are very messy. Um, and you can kind of notice here that they were just kind of fed. So there's not too, do you see these holes? See these big holes here? That's from their noses. So when cows eat, they actually naturally push the feed away. So we need to make sure that we bring that machine through and we're pushing it back in for them, so that there's always food here. We never want these cows to be without food, ever. That's why I said there's another reason why cows are way better fed than us humans.
Awesome. So I'm a big fan of Katie's, and I love to follow her Facebook page. And I know she uses something called a cow manager app. Do you have your phone on you, Katie? Could you show us what that is?
Completely forgot to show you that. So everything I talked about, all that stuff that's computerized, all their milk weights, all their steps, everything. There is an app for that. By the way, that's Cutie Patootie. So if I open, this is called Pocket Dairy. If I open this and say I put in, I'm going to put in Snickerdoodle's number. Her number is 2286. She's in group 16. She's 8 days of milk because she just had her second calf last week. Her current milk, she's only given about 24 pounds, but that's to be expected. She just had a baby. She's her 3rd lactation. So that means she's 5 years old. And then if we swipe over, this is her complete medical record. So anything that she's had from a calf, I have on her. And Snickerdoodle and I kind of have a special bond, because she had pneumonia, which I can tell you because she had Baytril back in November of 2014 as a newborn calf. And I helped her get through that. So that just brings me to Emma. A lot of people ask me, Katie, what do you love so much about farming? And to me, it's herd health. I love knowing that when I go home at night, or I come back in the barn the next day, and a cow's still alive because of what I did for her, that's amazing. I can't tell you enough that these cows are part of our family. And so when we come to the barn every day, we look in these big brown eyes, and they're here because of us, and they're doing well because we put in the work and all the skills needed for that. And we work with a great group of people too. We don't just do this by ourselves. We have a great team here on the farm, and then other people that work with us. So technology is huge for farmers. This app is super helpful. We can update it every day. And I just want to, make sure that gets out there, because I think a lot of people think we're like these redneck country bumpkins. We love technology. And by the way, we've had these Fitbits since the 90s. Okay, Apple, like it's not new. We've had them for a while, so I feel like you just adopted them from the cows.
Awesome. I just want to encourage people to keep sending questions in. We have about 5 minutes left to our tour, but as we can tell, Katie is a wealth of information. So please make sure you submit some more questions here before the end of our tour. And we just had one come in. How often do you clean the cow pens, and how do you clean them?
All right, so you remember the squeegee we just saw here? So that gets cleaned 24/7. So it takes about an hour for it to clean this one side of the barn. So it's pretty great. Like we don't have to worry about it. I mean, we do when it breaks. But that you see how clean that floor is. So that's that pen, that hospital pen that you saw. Obviously, there's no squeegee in there. So that's one of my actually favorite jobs because I just put my earbuds in and listen to some music while I'm scooping that out with the skid loader. That's why this thing is so cool because it's like super versatile. You can put different implements on it and do a lot with it. Just if we don't have another question, Emma, I just want to point out that I use a hashtag a lot on a lot of my social posts. It's hashtag Ask a Farmer, not Google, because Google doesn't do this. We get, as farmers, like I said, we're less than 2% of the population, and we get really frustrated when people, see things on social media from people that don't even know dairy farming, and take that to be the truth. And I actually have a lot more faith in you, Gen Z, than I do in my own generation with our millennials because you guys actually want to know the validity and the credibility behind things. I just thought of something else I was going to add too. Oh, also know that 97% of all farms are still family owned. It does not matter how many cows a farmer has. Just to give you a quick example, my family milks about 1,000 cows. As soon as I say that to people, like, oh my gosh, factory farm, corporate this, big ag. Not true. There's 3 generations at home. My 91-year-old grandfather still comes to work every day. Also, by the way, rides a motorcycle. My dad and my uncle, second generation, and then I have a brother, sister, and 2 cousins that are part of the 3rd generation. And they also support about 30 other employees and their families. So there is a reason. It all comes down to economics. So please do not think that, oh my goodness, they milk so many cows, they must be big ag or factory farms. It's not. 97% of all farms are still family owned. So
Awesome.
yeah. Do we have
We
another
had
question?
we had another question come in. I think you're gonna love this question, Katie. How many Holsteins do you have on your farm?
Oh, how many Holsteins? So yeah, as you can see, they're mostly Jerseys. I grew up with all Holsteins, believe it or not. So I think in the entire herd we have about 40. And as you might have noticed, they're all in one pen. We joke that you can't see them from the road, but they're in that pen for a reason. Holsteins are a lot bigger than Jerseys, a lot bigger. So we needed to make sure that the bed space that they had to lay down was accommodating to their size. So the pen that those Holsteins are in are actually bigger than what you're seeing here.
Awesome. So we're gonna wrap up the end of our tour. So I wanted to close with this question for you, Katie. The name of your farm is Cow Comfort and Dairy. Why did you decide to pick that name?
We decided to go with Cow Comfort in Dairy. One, I like to have fun, and I just thought it was more fun than original. Like we could have done like D&K Farm, but how not fun is that? So Cow Comfort Inn, it really encompassed what Dave and I really wanted and really wanted to achieve with this farm. And that it's the comfort of these cows, it's the health and well-being of these cows, and it's across the board with all farms, whether they have a fun name like that or not. So that really encompasses what we do. And we don't like some of the things here. So this barn, we think it's a little too dark, and we would love to lighten it up at some point, but it takes money. So that's one of our goals in the future. And if we need to replace their beds. We need new mattresses for the girls. So we were looking at water beds, but again, it all costs money, and the industry is just not doing that well right now. So do us all a favor and support us if you would. And Emma, I just want to say one more quick thing. If people still have questions at the end of this, please do not be afraid to reach out to me through our Facebook page or Instagram. Shoot me a question and I'll do my best to answer them. And I also love to public speak and come into classrooms when I can, when it fits in with my teaching schedule, to share more about the farm. And we do in-person tours too. It's $6 a person, and we're hopefully getting some ice cream ready for you for the end of those tours too.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Katie. So as Katie said, she is a wealth of information. With the registration link, we did send the link to her farm Facebook page. I just want to remind everyone this tour was recorded. It will be posted on our YouTube channel. Also, in that follow-up email with the recording, you will receive a post-tour survey. Please fill that out. Let us know what you loved, what you liked, and what you'd like to see more of on our next tour that we do with a dairy farm. And with that, I'd like to thank all of our over 300 students joining us today. Glad you could take time out of your school day to be with us. And if you have any other questions, you know where to find the answers. Thanks, everyone.